Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Or if you're new here, welcome to another edition of Kingly Conversations, man. And we got another duo again today for you. But, we're still going to be talking about what we talk about because that's just what we do here in Kingly Conversations, man. And today, we're going to be talking about this Big Ten Pact. If you don't know what it is, we're going to talk about that too. So strap in, let the Kings talk about it. All right, good people, welcome back, man, to another edition of Kingly Conversations. And as I am every single week, man, you know who it is, man. It's Alan.
It's your friend, your mentor, Calvin D. Hill. All right.
So we're talking about this. I sent you over the documents and whatnot. So for those that don't know, there was a we all have a chat because why would we not have a chat in text messages? And I sent over a video of a news report talking about this Big Ten Pact, which is essentially um, a mutual defense aid pact, where some universities have banded together, some would say, conspired together, others might say, to essentially become the NATO of universities. So essentially, if you come after one of us,
Yeah, my
you come
God.
after all of us. Um, and it's a weird time in history because the fact that higher education feels the need to protect itself, in my mind, should already be telling. But
That to me
I,
is major. That if the universities feel like they got to do something like this, what
but
should the
but
people be doing?
well, and here's the weird thing, right? Here's what I don't understand, and I don't understand this as a person who actually likes learning things, and is not trying to necessarily. The only thing I want to be in control of is freedom, the freedom to do and go and come as you please. And I don't have a desire to monitor what people are learning and say we don't want you learning this. I want you to learn that. I'm like, learn it all. Make up your own mind. But other people don't
But
necessarily want that.
right, but to threaten universities and
Hey,
to this that to me is like you said, telling that's a sign that the people need to pay attention because that train is coming down the pipe and it could be
oh,
targeted. It could be targeted at whatever your issue may be, whatever you're concerned with. It might not be you today, but it looks like to me. It looks like
chances are.
chances are it's coming for you and what you care about. If you're
Yep,
attacking education and the
yep,
universities feel like they need to group together to protect
yep.
themselves against an administration, that's a problem.
I don't even know, and it's one of those things to me that if you have to, if this is so this all started. Well, part of it started at least
Hmm.
because they one there is it's a complete attack against anything that's not far right in nature. Because the only reason this even started was because some people didn't like that people were protesting against Israel and for Palestine on college campuses. But college campuses have always been for um, liberal in the moment ideas because by and large, uh, the more education you have, the more liberal for other people, you tend to be. You might be conservative yourself, but you don't necessarily. But because of the education and because of the fact that you had to be around different types of people in a college setting, unless you went online, it's like
You
anything
gotta
else,
give space and grace to other people's opinion and ideas.
right?
Not to force your own on. No, you allow people to have their stance and their positions, and you have yours. It's not to
Not anymore.
impose. Yeah, that's what it looked like.
You can't.
That you can't. Whatever they say, that's what we're gonna do now.
Yeah, yeah, essentially. And I think that that's. But the thing of it is that was not it was not unexpected. So I don't know what, and I guess people have in their mind they have this thing where they're thinking, well, maybe this will just be rhetoric. Um, but rhetoric with the pen ain't just rhetoric.
Right.
It's now the good. In some respects, the good thing is a lot of the things that are being done by executive order, which means in 4 years they ain't gonna mean nothing. But anything that does get pushed through into law will mean something 4 years from now. But presidents routinely roll back their predecessors' executive orders first week, first month, first year in office. The ones that make sense to roll back. Um, I don't really, it's unfortunate that the executive order gets used as often as it, because every president seems to use it more than the previous one.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's been a progressive thing where it's like every president does more executive orders than the previous one every
Yeah.
single time that presidency changes. And in some respects, it's because it's getting harder and harder to get anything done in Congress, because it seems to me, at least, America is becoming more and more polarized than I won't even say than they used to be, but it's more evident now that America is polarized, because I don't know that America never was. I just think that
We
now
we
the
have the
issues,
media and the technology and information
right,
being pushed out there to let us know.
right. I mean, because that's just like I won't pretend, because there are people, certainly people that I see, um, some of them that we used to serve with, that are on my timeline saying some outrageous stuff, and I'm just like, oh, et tu, Brutus. Like, what? You too? I thought you were smarter than this, but I see you ignorant too.
Mm, mm, mm.
But you know what? Hey, if you enjoy being in your ignorance, that's fine. And because they would say the same thing, I'm sure, um, that pretty much anybody that doesn't believe the way they believe is ignorant. My thing is, you're ignorant when your mind isn't open. When your mind isn't even open to the concept of new ideas, or the thought that the ideas that you have might be wrong. That's when I have um, an issue, and I find that a lot of people just double down. But the reason I can't, again, as I often do, I blame Calvin,
It ain't
because
my fault. It ain't my fault.
because again, folks, I really did believe till I was in my 20s that Christ was born on Christmas Day. I was one of those people, because I just believed what I was like. People wouldn't intentionally deceive me. So you could say I was naive about some things. I wasn't naive about everything. But sir, I had never even heard now. And when I told my dad, he was like what? And I'm like, well, you certainly never told me, sir, Pastor. You certainly never told me. So, um, because I was one of them. So for those that don't know, I was one of those weird kids, right? When my dad sat me down, was like, well, here's where Halloween comes from. Here's what Halloween is about. I immediately stopped celebrating Halloween, just
Hmm.
because I was like, so I would have stopped. I'm sure I would have been like, oh, we ain't doing this Christmas thing, because hey, if this ain't Jesus' birthday, what we doing?
No, time out. I gotta put a disclaimer. I gotta put a disclaimer out here.
It ain't Jesus'
No,
birthday. It ain't that man's birthday.
I gotta put a disclaimer out here
What disclaimer is that?
because what I said is true. It's true. At the same time, you have to give space to people's traditions and cultures. That's the
Yes.
category a lot of stuff have to fall into, traditions and cultures. Yeah, it may not be fact in some of the information we receive. Yesterday, never mind. I'm gonna get off topic. We go there, but my own kids, I showed them something as far as the calendar and the time that most people don't understand and know that this season right now in April is the beginning of the year in the Old Testament. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So how do we get this calendar that we have now through governments and nations and other things?
That government was
Other
called the Catholic Church.
Okay, and other things. I'm not going into all that.
The
That
Gregorian calendar was Pope
and
Gregory.
change how we tell time.
Thanks, Calvin.
So okay, so with that information, just put it in a category. Just put it to the side. You'll use it later. Okay.
See,
So
but and I think that's where my problem is because I'm not. I've never been, and I don't know why. I've never been a fan of doing tradition for tradition's sake. I've never been a proponent of tradition for tradition's sake only. Like I need a reason why. Like because I never forget when I first moved into the house that I live in now, because it used to be my grandfather's house, and my mother would say, well, your grandfather did it this way, and I'm always like, well, why did he do it that way?
right, right,
Is it
right.
because it might have been something that don't have nothing to do with me as to why he did it that way? I'm not going to do it the way he did it just because, and because of who my grandfather was, I don't think he would want me to just do it because he was, this is a man who at 85 years old was teaching himself was teaching himself Greek so that he could read the New Testament in Greek
Mm-hmm.
in
Because
his
it takes a different
80s.
understanding. It takes a
Right.
different understanding.
So if that's who he was, then I don't think he would just want me to be like, oh, I did it this way because that's the way you did it. Because that wasn't the man he was.
But okay, so here's the challenge with finding information and knowing things, because then you have the potential to go against the established order.
Welcome.
So for this topic we're using now,
Yep.
the threat of universities exposing young minds to different information
Yep.
could potentially create a threat. So to get ahead of the train that has left the station
Mm.
on their end,
Yep.
they're saying, let's not, or let's at least find out all the information they're telling them and put some kind of restraints on them. Because if we don't deal with them wisely now, they may deal wisely with us later.
Maybe.
Maybe. So all I'm saying is information. Information. Like you said, expand your
Well,
mind. Once it expands, it can't go back. So
and
once you
that's
see it,
yeah. Well, some people certainly try to. I mean, some people are definitely trying to be like, what was dude's name in the Matrix? That was just like, I don't want to know
I don't want to know
nothing.
nothing.
I
I
just
don't
want
want to
the
know nothing.
steak. I don't want to. I want to be rich. I don't want to be
Yeah,
famous.
I don't want to know nothing.
Some people try it, man. They try to do that. Like I don't want to know nothing. I want to get back into my little bubble, back into my little hole. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with that. I'm just like sometimes, man. Sometimes I would like to, but I can't because I'm black. But sometimes I would like to just be like, I'm about to buy me like 80 acres somewhere, put my house in the middle, and just be like, just where we at. Because in my case, at least, we found out during the panorama that we enjoy each other's company, even if that means we together all day, all the time. We just like we don't actually get tired of each other. So, um, I would sometimes I just be like, that's And I was talking with a friend of mine from high school,
Mm,
and because of everything, and this I will relate this back to the Big Ten Pact people, because of all the stuff that's going on and all the turmoil that's happening with whether it's with the Big Ten Pact or in their case, everybody in federal government service is currently nervous
Yeah.
because things are changing so often. There's no stability. And then they're staring this ability to take a 6-month severance in the face. And so he said, I'm gonna take it. He's gonna take the severance, then he's gonna sell everything he owns and move abroad. Everything. And I'm like, man, that feels like freedom to me. But because I mean, you think about it, if you take a 6-month severance, he said he could probably survive because of where I know what country he's going to. That he could probably make it 18 months. And his goal in that 18 months is to find something he can do remote from there. Now, I don't know what the internet service is like in that country, but that's his plan, is to try to find something remote he can do from there. Um, and I'm like, it's great to be able to have that option, right?
Right.
And he does because he's single. And doesn't have any children or anything, he has those types of options. He has the freedom to just pick up and go as he pleases.
Yeah, you don't have responsibility. Nobody but you.
I get that. So,
Gone.
so that's why I'm saying, something. So, but these universities can't really pick up the university and move. But I will also say that I don't know what people thought, because when this is the other reason I think that they're trying to control what they teach. Because if you look at when you look at the breakdown, the demographics of the votes, the vast majority of the people, more than 56, I think, percent of men with a bachelor's degree did not vote for the current regime across the board. 56% of men, or it's 52 and 56. I think it's maybe 52% of men and 56% of women that had a bachelor's degree or higher, regardless of their racial makeup, voted against
Yeah.
what we have now. But you only have about 40% of the U.S. that has a degree. So even if all of those people, it still would only be 40% of the U.S. And so I think that that's also a part of it is they're trying to, like you said, get ahead of the train, because they realize that it is actually in their favor to have fewer people vote, because the
Yeah.
fewer people that actually vote, the more likely those votes are for them, because their voters, their base is more willing to be inconvenienced to vote than other people's bases. And so now they're attacking the universities to try to stave off. I mean, my thing is, like, we're already in the death throes, man. All you're doing is prolonging the inevitable. I mean, because unless we're gonna go full dictator, back in the day they used to say, something else, but full dictator. The train has already left the station. The only thing you can do is slow the train down or put bumps in the road for the train.
Bumps.
That's all you can really do. You
Little
can't do
bumps.
anything else because at some point in time, the boomers are going to die off, and it's just going to leave Gen X, Gen X, millennials, and Gen Z.
Well, that's who's the country. That's whose hands the country is in. So,
Except politically, it's not.
well, not yet.
Politically,
Not yet.
not
But that's
yet.
where
I
it's
know,
going
because
to.
that's where it's going to.
That's
So
what it's going
politically,
to.
it's still firmly in the clutches of
Not the
Senator
clutches.
Palpatine. you know,
Not.
firmly in the clutches of the Sith right
Not
now.
the Sith
So
Lord.
the Sith Lord has a firm grasp. I mean, because and I hate to
Jesus.
be. I don't always want to be ageist, right? But if you, my thing is, I feel like the government should, in terms of who makes the rules, should reflect the demographics of the people that are in the country. So age wise, also meaning that, like, if
So
you
like that
dying in the
40s,
Senate because you
50s,
dying, yeah, 40s, 50s, 60s at the top,
but outside of
because
that, you don't feel like
because
they
that's
should have an office. That that
I feel like they should be in an advisory role. They should be giving you historical data because they're not going to
mm,
be alive for the decisions they're making.
mm.
They're not even going to
But
be
they thinking
alive for these
they're
decisions.
thinking about their grandkids and their kids and
No,
they
they ain't. They think
yeah
about
they
their
are.
pockets.
They thinking about their kids' pockets, their
Well, yeah,
grandkids'
and
pockets.
that's why they got to slow the train down because they're seeing that this ain't their country no more,
Yeah.
and they don't like it. But you open the door. You open the door because you own the business and you ship that business overseas. You open that door. You shipped all the work overseas for greed's sake, and now you want to close the door that you opened. Like, oh, it's too cold outside. Well, you knew that when you opened the door. Either that or you're not smart. It don't take a rocket scientist to see some of this stuff. Like I said, that light down there is a train coming this way. So anyway, the pact.
Right, yeah, that's what I'm about to say. That pact, it's an interesting little thing in there. It says that funds would be created to provide immediate and strategic support to all
Did it?
these universities in the
Yeah.
pact. Now, that's what we were talking about the last one with money
Mm-hmm.
supporting and aiding. When are you people, going to see that's how you build a defense? That's how you kind of surround yourself with support with money. Everybody don't think that way yet.
They're not. And I think the reason that they won't is um, people have a hard time agreeing. In any group of people, somebody's always got to be in charge, right? And that's all. That to me is always where the problem is because if you have a pure democracy, nothing gets done because nobody's in charge. Meaning nobody's voice has more weight, has more gravitas than somebody else's. But that would be a pure democracy where you essentially make the decisions like this is what I think is right without anybody else's input.
Yeah.
The problem is even in small communities, somebody is always trying to convince you to their way of thinking. I mean, even on this podcast, I mean, we're essentially having conversations about our way of thinking, which may or may not convince you to our way of thinking. But the goal, at least for me, the goal is just to have these conversations, not necessarily to convince anybody to think the same way that I think. I just want you to think, because some of y'all out there ain't thinking nothing. I just want you to think. And it gets, so with the so it with this Big Ten Pact, and I think it's going to be more universities that join in because they're essentially creating for themselves a legal defense fund that should the administration come after us, we will have potentially billions of dollars to fight against whatever they're doing, all the way up to the Supreme Court, even though it's already been proven that they don't care what the Supreme Court says, they're gonna do what they want to do because that's happened already.
Right.
And then they lied about what the Supreme Court actually said. And that's the problem. That's the problem. I mean, because you can, the thing about it, this thing that's crazy to me, which is also the reason why they're attacking universities. Like, if the Supreme Court has a decision, you can go and read the brief. You don't need nobody to tell you what the Supreme Court said. They don't make decisions in secret. Like, they're not the CIA. All of their decisions are public. You can go read what they said. So to believe that to believe a politician, this is why I don't. This is why I'm like, nah. Show me in writing what they said. Show me in writing what the Supreme Court said, and then we can have a conversation. But as long as you telling me what some news source said, nah, because the Supreme Court stuff is in writing, bruh. Every
Mm,
time, every
mm.
time, their decisions are in writing. So you can't tell me what the Supreme Court said. But that's what they trying to. So the Supreme Court has ruled on some of this stuff, and they just like, nope, full speed ahead, aye, aye, Captain. And I'm just like, oh, all right. Well, that's
Right.
because that's not a
That's,
dictatorship. There's no checks and there's no checks and balances at this point. None. But this is what the people wanted. This is what
that
they
we
wanted.
asked for. That's what the people asked for.
It is what they asked for. It is what they asked for. It is what they desired. So then, when you join the lepers eating faces party, I'm not very sympathetic because it's not like. Now, I will say so. Here's the only problem. Sometimes is the way that most people consume media, even about the Big
Hmm.
Ten Pact. The way is through their thumbs. Right, it's thumb scrolling through their
Yeah,
phone. That's the way
scrolling through
most
the
people
yeah.
consume media. And I was watching a news report, and they actually sent people out into some of they were asking they essentially were asking illegal immigrants that voted for the current administration why they voted for the current administration. Um, and most of them were using like WhatsApp and other stuff, so they weren't even seeing the information the rest of people were seeing. And that sometimes is a challenge, is because we judge people based on information that we've seen that they might not be aware of. Just like Tony Brothers Restaurant. I don't know how long it's been here, but I ain't know nothing about it.
Right.
I mean, you know what's in your wheelhouse. And so they hadn't even seen some of the stuff that the administration was saying before they even got elected. They had just had no idea. And so they were showing them videos, of stuff that he had said, like he said, not that somebody said he said, like from his own mouth.
Hmm.
And they were like, they had never seen any of this stuff before because they just weren't, it was not being delivered to them through their thumbs. So, I mean, we don't have no sponsors, but I did buy something that kind of helps me with that because it aggregates all the news sources and tells you whether or not they're liberal,
Reliable.
center,
Oh,
or
okay.
right leaning.
Okay.
And I try to read the ones that are center leaning, meaning they just deliver the news. Here's what happened.
Yeah.
No spin on it whatsoever. No takes, no nothing. Because that's all I need. Just tell me what happened. Um, I don't, and because to me, if somebody's giving you actual facts don't really care about your
Your
opinions.
opinion? No.
But people still try to because WHRO has they've been very active on their Facebook page recently. Unless it's just being shown to me now, it could be getting shown to me because I actually have that app. Because only people that are interested in getting their news from the center, so that it has as little bias as possible, would care about what WHRO is talking about. Because they're PBS broadcasting is normally very centered. They try to report exactly what the news is, and you can have your own opinions about it later. But they're going to report what the news is.
The news is.
So I really want to see what people what any of the PBS stations have to say about this Big Ten Pact, but I didn't find it soon enough because that's probably going to be them, Reuters. There are a few news outlets. Al Jazeera, believe it or not, is typically very center leaning. Typically, doesn't mean they always are, but typically very center leaning. Um, so it's we live in a time, man, where with attacking universities and everything else, we live in a time that's going to get very difficult to tell what's real and what's not. It's already getting difficult because of AI. What's going on with your camera?
No, that's me.
Oh, it's already getting difficult because of AI, because it's getting more and more. If you don't know how to spot a fake, you can. We were watching G20 last night on Netflix or something. Oh, Amazon Prime maybe, I don't know. But in any event, the entire part of the premise of the show is using deepfakes to say these world leaders said things that they didn't actually say.
So we got a lot of that now.
We do. We do have a lot of that now, and especially in the social media space. There's not a lot of it going on
Right.
in
The social
mainstream
media
media,
space.
but in the social media space, because my one of my relatives, I gotta do that because I don't have my family ain't that big. So if I say, it'd be easy to find them. But one of my relatives was, posted something about, like these Chinese flying buses, and I'm just like
What?
what are y'all doing? Like this don't even exist. Like this ain't real. Like you can't. And to me, and maybe it's because I'm into technology. To me, it is obviously fake. But I think, but if you can dumb down society, it makes it a lot easier to control them.
Right. That's what I think. That has a lot to do with what's happening.
I think so. I think so, especially after the last election. I think so because they
Yeah.
saw in their face, as you would say, um, that the less educated the society was, the more
The
likely they
easier.
were to vote for the ideals that we pushed,
Yeah.
and the more easy we could change the narrative on them. Not that other people can't change the narrative. It's just they're looking for the path of least resistance, and that's part of it is going to be. So we'll see if other universities jump on board. The problem is going to always be the big ones. Because my thing is, if one of the things that they want to get rid of is all things DEI, which right now to me is just a code word, then now you're talking about no HBCU can get federal funding, none. So now it becomes even more important to do what we talked about last week, technically, which is support those
Support.
universities.
Right.
It's going to be even more important for community support and community endowment, and not necessarily grants and things from the federal government. Because
Right.
if because right now DEI is whatever they say it is. And I really wish they would stop saying DEI. Just say that I'm not for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like, give me all the words so that you hear
So
yourself
you know
saying,
exactly what it is.
right. So I'm not for diversity, equity, and inclusion at all. I am for monoculture. I am for no equity at all, and I am for excluding you. Just
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
Say that.
Well, then they admit the prejudices and racism and all that stuff. Then you get to put it in my face and tell me it exists.
Well, that's what they're saying already. They're already saying DEI is racist against white people. Notwithstanding the fact that white women have benefited more from it than everybody else. But okay.
Okay.
Like, we got numbers. That's the other thing
That's the
that they want to
sad
get rid
part.
of. They want to get rid of the accounting. The because because and this is where education plays a role. People have talked about getting rid of getting rid of race on like loan applications. And like the problem is that's a double-edged sword. Because if you
It
get
is.
rid of race on a loan application, then you now have no information to know that they're not giving you the app. That once they see who you are, they're not giving you the application anyway. Now they can pull that information up because all of that stuff is recorded. What race the person was in. So it's like one of those things where it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because we get rid of it, but now you're not gonna you'll know this stuff is happening
Hmm.
because you might be inside the community that's happening too. But there won't be any empirical data that is happening, and that's always the problem. That's always the problem. This is like sometimes we got to quit wanting what we don't want. We think we want a thing, but you don't. This is not what you actually want. Like, you really don't
That's
want them
what we
coming
think we
after
want.
universities. Well, it's what some people want.
That's what we think. That's what we think. So,
Hey, well,
hey
you know
man,
what?
but
It is what they wanted. You know why? This is what they asked for,
yeah, they voted for. All right, let's
and they
close
never
close
thought the lepers would eat their face.
it.
Like, you had a pet leopard. What do you think was going to happen here?
We're gonna get hungry.
At some point, this is still a wild animal, but you didn't think the leopards would eat your face. You're like,
Yeah,
oh,
that's the sad part.
leopard love me. Now that leopard get hungry enough, you food too.
Right, right. They didn't think that was gonna happen.
It's crazy these days to say that you missed the days where it was just like, because today, like, John McCain versus Barack Obama seemed incredibly civil compared to what we got going on
Compared
now,
to
man.
what we see now, it's crazy.
My gosh, it is
It's crazy.
crazy. It's crazy to long for those. Like, man, can we just get back to civility?
Out the
Oh
window,
man,
gone. That day gone.
and
All right.
all right. Anyway, don't get me started.
We gonna
You
start
know
on. We're
me.
gonna do another one on that.
You know me.
Civil politics. We're gonna go.
Man, let
We're
me
gonna
go
go
ahead and
into
put
that.
that up there.
Yeah,
I thought we
put
had
that in there.
we got respectability politics up there, which is not. I think we did that one
There it
already.
is.
We
That's
did do
close
that one.
enough.
We did that one
We'll
already, actually. Yeah, we did respectability politics. It just for some
Oh
reason
no.
it's still in the upcoming episodes of drawer, so I'll move it. So maybe we'll go civil politics. Anyway,
All
hey,
right.
we appreciate y'all for listening in. We appreciate y'all sticking through us, through the gaps. But we've made some decisions, right?
Hmm.
And we said we were going to do it a while ago, and then we just kind of didn't. But so it only two of us got to be here to record. So if somebody's not available, then the
Keep the
two
train
of
moving. We
we
got to
got to keep
keep
the
up.
train moving, and
Keep the train moving.
hopefully y'all are paying attention on the TikTok page. I post a lot on the TikTok. I say a lot. I post multiple times a week, which for me is a lot on the TikTok page. Also on our Instagram page, our YouTube Shorts, and our Facebook page. So get in where you fit in, depending on what age group you are, right? I love TikTok because that's where I be at all day, most of the time. Not all day, but that's my social media of choice. But I know some of y'all love Instagram. I know some of y'all still love Facebook, and some of y'all are all over YouTube. So we are wherever you consume your social. Matter of fact, we have a fan base account for those that don't know. We also have a Lemonade account for those that don't know. Ain't nothing on it yet, but we got them. So, in the event that TikTok crashes again, we'll be on fan base. And everywhere that we are there as Kingly Conversations. So we're real easy to find. Got anything else, Calvin?
No, that's it, man. So I'll let you later.
All right, we'll see y'all next week.
All right.